This is Too Long for a Voice Note, a podcast about everything and nothing at the same time, presented by Claire
and Enzo. Our podcast is produced in London. Some conversations are just too long for a voice note.
Hey, he's Enzo.
She's Claire.
And this is Too Long for a Voice Note.
Hello
everyone.
Welcome
back.
Welcome back.
We're back. This is our first episode of the year.
How are you, everyone? This is so exciting. First episode of the year.
How exciting. I missed this podcast.
We had like a little of a break for
We had a break.
Like, what happened this month for you, Claire?
I had a surgery.
And the happiness, like, I had surgery.
So yeah, I had a surgery for my endometriosis. We were actually saying
yeah.
if you guys would like an episode about endometriosis, not necessarily about my
That'd be cool.
experience, but
Yeah.
generally more about endometriosis, we thought it might be informative.
It's cool because I have questions, you know.
Maybe
and I think a lot of people,
we could, because one of our aims for this year is to actually have guests on. So
That'd be
maybe
cool.
if you like that idea, please do drop us a comment or give this video a like.
I really like that. You know?
I think that'd be good. We can get a
It'd be cool.
professional's opinion about
That would be really nice. I think it would be a really cool conversation. But yeah. Well, you got your surgery. Clearly,
So that
you
was
are
that.
fine.
I made it.
You
I'm
made it.
alive.
She made it alive. Clearly, alive and kicking.
And how has the beginning of your year been?
It's been good. I think like now I'm catching up a bit in February because I think January is a bit like a weird month.
January.
Honestly,
Yeah, that was
it's
a
so
lot.
like I think it's like the January blues. You know, like after there's such much hype at the beginning of the year, right? Kind of like at the ending of the previous year, so now you start a new one. It's kind of like, and you know, you always get reflective. What I'm gonna do this year? What are gonna be my goals? And sometimes I think that can be a bit tiring. You don't think? I mean, it's exciting. It's like a new year, but also it's like a lot of expectations for what you're gonna do with this year that you have in front of you.
I get you.
So I think it was a bit like, but I think now I'm catching up.
You feel in the flow of it now.
Yeah,
kind of
so
thing.
that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also just like the weather is not ideal.
Yeah,
you know, and I think you get to this point of the year and it's like
when it's gonna get better, honestly. But
that's it, really.
Yeah, well, your month, the January, I think, was very like recovering, right?
It was, yeah. I had my surgery on the 10th of Jan, so it'll be a month.
Perfect month of recovery because
I'm
nothing
glad.
happened.
Yeah, I'm really glad that it was
really
January,
happened.
and
So
then that's
good.
done. So
yeah, I'm really excited about everything about the podcast and everything all the topics we're gonna have for this year.
I know we've
all
got
the
some
blah 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 blah
racked up, and we've got lots of aims and goals for the podcast, things we want to improve. So stay tuned for that. So
and as always, remember to like follow us and support us.
Yeah.
We're like we've been receiving a lot of support lately with our reels and our videos. So it's really exciting
really
to
nice.
see that. You know, it's cool to see people like checking our little faces around on the internet. Like,
Definitely.
you know, it's like thank you because they even like it. So I mean, if you like the videos, like you like our annoying faces. So
for sure. So thank you for
welcome.
that. But yeah, with that being said, I mean, it's my week this week.
It's your week,
right?
You start because so
time for
Claire's secret topic of the week.
So alrighty.
Okay,
so why are you gonna
my
surprise
topic.
me at this first topic of the year, Claire? What's gonna
Well, I want to talk about apologising.
Apologizing. Apologizing. Oh,
So,
interesting.
The reason
interesting topic.
why I brought this topic is
I'm not apologizing for anything to you. I have done zero.
you owe me 20,000 apologies. But we will actually get into that a little bit. But the reason why I wanted to talk about this was because at the beginning of the year, I believe it was the beginning of the year or December, January, I believe it was January, Bad Bunny, if you don't know him, where are you? But he's a really famous singer.
Yeah.
He is having like a moment at the moment, right? Like going through some stuff maybe. And a fan like came up to him and was like all up in his face, and he got her phone and threw it into the ocean.
Yeah.
And okay, whatever, that's not really what this is about.
Yeah.
But he actually refused to apologise. He didn't actually come through with like a fake apology, well, we can go into that more, but he just didn't apologise. So then I started thinking like about celebrities apologising. Do they owe an apology in these kinds of situations? And then I was thinking more about apologising in general. So in our own life. Also something that I did really wonder about, which I've done a bit of research on, was whether men or women apologise more.
Interesting.
And what you think about that. So that's kind of what I want to talk about.
Interesting, Claire. Very interesting. I don't think you have any problems for apologizing, right?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I'm British after all. So that's... I literally apologise for breathing.
To be fair, That's a really good point. So there we go. I mean, that's a good start about like, I guess, cultural differences as well,
so
right?
let's start with that. Let's talk about cultural differences. So I think, obviously I'm from the UK and we do apologise a lot. And I think that's actually something that we discussed to give that example of Bad Bunny, because I think at the end of last year, Dua Lipa, who was obviously from London, she was in she was somewhere in Rio, right?
Brazil,
Brazil. And so many fans came up to her and she was like, guys, I'm really sorry, but like she's obviously super cute and polite, like, so sorry guys, but just I'm with my family, so please I won't take a picture when, like, adorable.
We can have to put the video here so you can actually
link it.
Oh, sorry, I'm not going to take any photos while I'm here because I'm out with my family, but it's so nice to meet you.
Versus Bad Bunny, I mean, they're equally both like massive stars. And Bad Bunny's reaction, which was to actually grab the phone and throw it. And Dua Lipa got a lot of pushback for that.
Yeah.
Do you remember? People were like, oh my God, what a bitch. And she was like, she couldn't have been nicer.
Yeah.
She couldn't have been...
literally saying like, sorry, this is my time with my family. I cannot take a photo now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But she's apologizing for not putting her time at the service of people kind of thing, right? Which is a bit like, but it's her own time.
And I thought that was an interesting example because of I don't know if that is a cultural thing. I didn't know whether that was a gender thing as well. Yeah. But with apologising, I think for Brits, I think, well, you said like when you moved here, you were like, what on earth is wrong with these people?
Like, are everyone okay around here? I mean, I always remember vividly, like, when I was, like, at the beginning of my, I think it was my second year in London, maybe my first year and a half, I dropped my iPhone in the middle of the street.
Oh, you're nightmare.
And I broke my screen. And I was just starting in London, had no fucking money, so it's not like I have a lot now, but, it was a rougher time back in the day. Dropped the phone, turned around, and it was all broken, right? And like a lady just stopped to say sorry.
Wow.
Because I think she was kind of like, because of having a moment, and she was kind of like going in front of me, so I think she felt like she was like...
Had maybe caused it, but she didn't.
No. Yeah. And maybe she was like, oh, I'm interrupting his moment or something, so she says sorry. And I was like, why you're saying sorry to me, right? But then actually she stopped to say like, are you okay? Is your phone alright? So it was very like, it was very apologetic, the whole situation. And I found it like... Also very nice for London in the morning, but also I find very apologetic, and I feel that a lot here. Like even like if you can push someone through over a cliff, and they will say sorry to you,
Totally.
I push you. You need to say sorry, but that's kind of interesting,
but
right?
It's like a super British thing, and I think for us, like manners are really important. Like you'll never, which I think is very different to like Europe and maybe Latin America.
Yeah,
like
we don't have that.
Like, no, I didn't say it. So, you'll never ever push in a queue in the UK. Like that's hell no.
Something is happening, like a bomb.
Yeah.
Or something is happening because it's like a...
But I think it's interesting though, because it's like, is it genuine or is it just because when I was researching it says that there are obviously a lot of different apologies. There's like a sincere apology. There's just, you're just saying sorry because it's kind of like a knee-jerk sorry, which is what I think we do sometimes quite a lot. You just say sorry, so sorry. Have you ever had a situation in your life, maybe not with your boss, for example, or what, but in general, where you know that you owed an apology but you haven't?
Yeah, you put me in the spot there because I don't have an example on top of my head. I'm sure like a lot of times I've been like thinking for a really period of time to say I'm sorry, but I don't know, I feel like for me it's not that difficult.
No.
Like, I don't have a lot of issues to say if I'm sorry, like if I really, because I think if I know I did something wrong, I will be very like aware of it, so for me it's gonna be like kind of like, well, I'm sorry, like let's talk about it. I believe I don't have
interesting, because actually I did find out that women do actually apologise more than men. That was something that I was expecting, and I think probably too.
For sure.
But it might not be for the reason why you might think, but it's actually more to do with that there seems to be a big difference between what is seen as offensive behaviour between men and women. So men have a different view of what offensive behaviour is.
Of course.
And women do as well. I don't know if I totally buy that, though. I think there's more muddled in there. For example, like...
It's not simple.
Pride, toxic masculinity. Yeah. Like, I think women are also socialised more to like apologise, probably out of like, it's quite dark, but probably out of like fear, or out of like dampening the situation.
I was thinking about that, like, I think like, obviously it's not my experience because I'm not a woman, but I feel like a lot of times women, they feel like they need to say sorry, apologize, because them not doing it will like reinforce certain things, kind of like, oh, they're problematic, they're this, they're that. So it's the same topic, right? If you stand up for yourself. For some people, it's like, oh, she's so problematic, and she's like standing up for herself. And also she needs to, I think women will be so easily do the first step to apologize.
I think
like
so.
It's kind of like for them it's not like a problem, and I wonder if it's also like a social thing behind it, like for years and years and years of kind of like being like the mediators and the ones that are like softer and the ones that try things to be better, right? While for men it's always about pride. It's kind of like, oh no, if I'm right, I'm right. I will never apologize. I need to cut off my arm. You know, I think I never heard like a woman saying something like, I will cut off my arm before apologizing.
Totally.
But for men it's so like common.
It kind of leads on to the point of like why some people do find it harder to apologize than others. And they're called non-apologists, which is interesting. It can be because of like a simple defensiveness or pride that we were speaking about with in this case, or like a fear of a kind of like when you admit something, it's kind of like if you admit that you are wrong, that might mean that you're a bad person, which I think is kind of strange. But okay, that's an example that people are giving. And I think also, refusing to apologise often reflects efforts to protect a fragile sense of self. So I think that's why men often find it hard to apologise.
Yeah, because I think like also like men, they had this thing or tendency on many men of like we are grew up thinking like we always need to be right, strong, providers, blah, 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 blah.
True.
So apologizing is like a weakness in a way.
I think so.
Which is stupid to think.
Yeah.
Why apologizing is a weakness? I think it's because, it's like you are saying in a way that you've done something
wrong. This is the thing.
And a man, they never do something wrong. Men always do things because they have to do it. You know, it's the type of mentality like,
totally.
I have to do it because I'm a man. And it's kind of, well, what you're doing is wrong.
Yeah, we gave the example about Bunny, for example. He didn't give an apology, but also I think one that I think of as well is J Balvin.
Yeah,
you know, when he came out, he did something a bit problematic, and his apology was really weak.
Yeah.
And again, it was that thing of I think you just don't have, because I think it takes courage to apologise actually, because you don't really know how the other person is gonna maybe use it, how they're gonna react, or it's me admitting that I did something wrong, like opening the floodgates for like more stuff to come
which
at me.
is a problem like a lot of people has, like that of like you open the tab and what's gonna come out of there, it will create like a thing that it can goes and on and on and on. So it's better to just like, I'm not apologizing, so it's kind of like a defense mechanism in a way. Thinking about like the cultural part, and it's very interesting because I think from my perspective, like I think in Latin America we have a really big issue with this, and I'm speaking from my experience, at least in Venezuela, I think we are between jokes and not jokes, we are very like, I'm not apologizing, I want to make something very like cynic out of it. Like for example, if you're on the street and someone pushes you, you're gonna be something, you will say something like, oh, if you want to take me with you at home, you know, take me with you, or like if you wanna take my arm with you, you know, like we're gonna make it like this type of like scenic jokes with people. But I find it's very weird because in your day-to-day life it's very like aggressive all the time. Like in my experience, while living, I lived most of my life in Venezuela, it's not common for someone to push and say like, oh, so sorry, you know.
Really? It's
more like, you know, it happens sometimes, of course, but most of the times, it's more common to have the experience of someone being like, what the fuck, than like, sorry, okay. Or it's gonna be like, when you apologize, you know, it's always like a very reactive thing, and it's always like, which I think it has a lot of like things about like social context, the type of like kind of armor or like kind of like protective thing you need to have when you live in cities that are a bit rough, you know. I'm thinking because probably it's not everywhere in Latin America, but big cities that are fucking disaster all the time and very aggressive. I think that happens a lot, that you need to be reactive, but that creates like a whole series of issues. And this example of like J Balvin, Bad Bunny, there are guys
that have grown up in,
they
like,
don't come necessarily like in a from like a wealthy background. They come from like a, let's say, air quotes, real places, whatever that means. So they come from like places, they're not part of like, maybe they're not in circles that are the most easiest ones. So I guess that's why their reaction
like that
are very like, protect, and also I'm a man, and also I'm a superstar in this case. While Dua Lipa is a very well-educated woman. I don't think she was rich even, but very well-educated. She grew up in London, very well-spoken. She won never. So it's kind of interesting that how maybe like education also plays a
definitely. I think it's super interesting, and I think actually like most of the world is more, maybe not as like, let's say, aggressive, or you need to have your back up as you do in Caracas, for example. But I think like in Europe, they don't apologise nearly as much as we do. Like I think Brits maybe Brits and maybe like Canadians. I don't know. I don't even believe like Americans are probably as apologetic.
Yeah,
I don't think they'd be
so.
like that, and like they're fucking rude in New York sometimes, you know. So it's
True.
I think that it's a very British thing, and I do kind of wonder where that comes from. But yeah, I think it's like you say with like Latin America, it's like it's so ingrained at this point.
Yeah, I think you mentioned this briefly in the beginning, but let's coming back full circle. It's the same as always. Like women, they need to apologize a lot for everything in society, right? Not like they need to, but they have to, because all of this misogyny around women or how everything is constructed, like women need to, like, if you're being too strong, you need to apologize. If you're too sexy, you need to apologize. If you're this, you need to apologize. And that's, I think, why it comes nowadays when women are more like, I don't need to apologize for that. A lot of people feel like, oh, why you are so, she's so liberal, she's so like,
exactly, she's like such a bitch or
it's
something
just like
she
that. Doesn't just have to, but just now when it's different, and it should be like that, you are surprised. It's like, oh, why she's not apologizing all the time.
Yeah, definitely.
That's kind of like
but I have to say, I think, and this is not throwing like one group of people under the bus, but I have to say, like, my worst experience with apologizing has been straight men. Like straight men that I've been dating. It's like nearly impossible to get a decent apology when it's like, you really owe me an apology. Yeah. And you don't get that.
And it comes from all of that, right? Like how we are raising. Well, I'm not raising anyone, you're not raising anyone yet, but how we've been raised and how men have been raised the last decades. And like how like being fragile, well, it's not even being fragile, but being open and honest and like receptive is not like a good trait for a man, you know?
It's true.
And that comes, of course, you need to have some certain level of sensitivity and like empathy to give and apologize. You're right. Because you need to go to a place of like breaking yourself a bit down. Like, okay, I did that wrong. Let me apologize. You know, it takes a few steps. It's not like as easy. And if you don't have all of that, of you having explored that, I think it's going to be really hard to.
It's really true. When I was researching, I actually saw that, and this is kind of adding on to what you were just saying about kind of like what makes a good apology. And there are 3 A's of apologies. So number 1 is acknowledgement. So acknowledging the situation and saying that you're sorry for what happened. Acceptance, holding yourself accountable, and then amends, changing the behavior. So the acceptance, holding yourself accountable, is basically saying like, I was wrong. And that is, I think, something that maybe straight men are not told, not comfortable, not willing to do. What I don't notice in relationships with my gay friends or with women. I think I notice it so much in that group. Because I think it goes back to that thing that we were saying about the fragility. Because like you say, like, it does like take courage. But the thing is, like with an apology, it's literally like it like washes, especially a genuine apology. Because I think we've probably all been apologized to, and it's like you're just saying that to like brush it under the carpet. But we can feel when somebody is genuinely apologizing, like this and this and this, and also I'm actually gonna like not only apologize, but I'm gonna change my behavior. You know. I was
thinking just that. I think the problem with apology is that apology requires an action after.
It does.
Most of cases, right? Like, you know, if I did something wrong, if you're expecting to apologize, you're probably expecting that wrong thing happen again, or at least change a bit. And I think that's a problem a lot of people feel. In this case, probably with men and women or whoever who find it hard to apologize. It's like the after thing, like the action that you need to take. And that's the thing, like, you know, that's why relationships in every single way are very complicated, because there's a lot of thinking and a lot of like reflecting, a lot of like because, you know, of like find middle grounds. And that's a lot of people that just prefer not to have friends or have just like one,
it's
you know, that falls into that group as well, because it's easier when you have less opportunities that you need to go through all of that, because relationships, they take time.
Yeah, they do.
And it's not something bad, but if you don't have the skills or you don't have the, I don't know how to call that, it's not a skill, but you don't have that thing of the tools maybe to like reflect on yourself, it's very hard, because one of the things there is apologize. Like
it's
friendships
so
and relationships are based on how open and how good can you be apologizing and being like take actions of yourself, you know, at the end of the day.
And also hearing it. I don't think and this is why I believe some people don't like to apologize, because they cannot bear the thought of like, you were such an asshole. Like that's so tricky for them.
And I was thinking now, like I'm asking to you, like, but what happens when you get an apology that it's a sincere apology, it's the person is really feeling, but that apology is not good for you? It's not.
That's an interesting question.
Like, if, because I feel I've been in situations, I know I've been in situations when I get an apologize, but that apology is not
good because it's going to maintain the relationship, for example.
Yeah, it's not doing what I need maybe to feel better in the situation. It's kind of like what happens when an apology is not enough? So what does that mean for the other person that's asking for apology, right? I think that's quite interesting. Like, I guess when you cannot like accept the apology, even if it's real, it's honest, it's everything the person can do because they have nothing else to like be like, let's say cheating or whatever, whatever it could be, and you get the apology, but for you it's not enough. Why you do that, and what's the position of the other person apologizing?
Then I think if you can't accept the apology, then it's on you to end the relationship, because it's like, I really appreciate the apology, like I know that you're really sincere, but at the end of the day you cheated, so I'm sorry, I can't forgive that. And I think that's the thing, like it's an apology is kind of like a gift in a way. Like you can accept it, but you also don't have to accept it. Or you can also accept it, but still choose to terminate a relationship, for example. Like I think that just because somebody is apologizing, like it doesn't really mean...
That's a solution.
It doesn't mean... It means something, and it can mean a lot in the first step of like rebuilding a relationship, for example, or a friendship. But I think... Yeah, like for example, I had like a friend of an example, and I never got an apology from her. I wanted it for a really long time. Then I let it go, as you do, because you move on with your life. And I think if it came now, I'd be like, thank you, but I just don't care anymore. Yeah, like I would never want to reconnect that relationship. Yeah, that's interesting. And I think, like,
and I guess like going back to this and like kind of go back to the beginnings, like if celebrities need to apologize and how we take that. That's interesting because I think we put celebrities on this high standard of like almost like a god or something untouchable, right? But then when a celebrity does something wrong and they apologize, most of the times people, they don't take the apologize as well.
It's true.
And it's always even if it's like a real apologize or it may be real for them, I think it's always this type of like people are like disappointed and they cannot bear the thought of being disappointed by their idols. And it's kind of like that they apologize, they just don't fall at the right place. And I feel that way a lot with celebrities. Like if they do something wrong and they apologize, it's a problem. If they don't apologize, it's a problem as well.
It's true.
I mean, so any case is like a situation,
it's true,
which is interesting.
I think I also disagree on a level because I think, you're a celebrity, yes, you are like a Bad Bunny, yes, okay, he's like a god at this point, he's so whatever. Yeah. But also you're a human and like that's quite like grabbing somebody's phone and throwing it in the ocean.
That's a case
it's like if that was your sister or something like that, you'd be pretty pissed off. And I think we put them on a high standard, but I think we also don't hold them to a high standard enough of the time with like basic human decency, and like, but at the end of the day also, I think it's fine that Bad Bunny didn't apologise because clearly he didn't believe that he needed to. So that would have been an empty apology. So fine, don't apologise then.
Yeah, I just find like he could be like, whoever I throw the phone on the ocean, just send me a message. I'm gonna pay for your phone. That's it. Yeah. Even at least pay him back. Yeah. You being a person with so much money, that would mean something, Yeah. That would be like, okay, well, this is not still okay, but at least you're taking an action. So in this case, I think it was all bullshit.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know, I find it interesting. I think with celebrities, I found that interesting. But also, like, they're regular people, and also they're not your family or friends. So
it's true.
They need to apologize for the actions if they're wrong because they have an influence for a lot of people. But at the end of the day, like,
I think just what really annoyed me about that situation with like Bad Bunny, who, obviously like we love him, but what annoyed me about that was the double standard of if that was a woman, like if that had been Dua Lipa, if she'd reacted that way, she would be cancelled. And it's like, like a woman can't sing about like having like sexual pleasure, having like an orgasm, for example, in the example of WAP, without being like completely crucified. And they need to come forward and say, and I just think this double standard is like so wrong. Yeah. And that's what really irked me about that. Like he can get away with just saying like, I don't know anything. I don't need to know anyone. And that's just completely unfair. Yeah. But that's like a part of a bigger problem,
That makes me think a bit like, remember when Naomi Campbell, she threw a phone to an assistant or something?
Oh, yeah.
Which is obviously, this is another topic, right? But this was an epic, iconic moment that she was pissed off. Probably if you are like a millennial or age, you will see that clip sometime in the world. It's like, she was in the peak of her career. She was, I don't know if she was high or she was pissed off or something. She threw a phone onto her assistant or something. But I found it interesting because I grew up I think now she's clear of that. People doesn't really think about that more now. More like now I think it's like a funny thing that happened. But I remember her being really crucified for years and years and years. And I remember always watching like entertainment television or all these shows about celebrities, and they were just making fun of how she went fucking crazy. Like, oh my god, yeah, women getting crazy out of nowhere, women being so sensitive, women attacking other people. So that's kind of interesting because I feel like the amount of hate she got for years, and I remember being like being 15, 16, and still that being around and mentioned, it's like, oh my god, when she went crazy, like Britney, for example, when women, they do things that seem to be erratic.
Out of character,
for example. How is so judged. But men, it's not the same. Even with Kanye West. Like, Kanye West, he's done a lot of shit. And of course, he has like mental issues, another topic. But he's not even as attacked as a woman would be. Yeah. You know? It's kind of like, oh yeah, well, it's Kanye West. That's it.
Totally.
But
totally. Rihanna did that, for example.
Let's imagine.
God. It's just basically like celebrities, female, male celebrities. It's just like another reflection of how it is for men and women in society.
How we react to it, right?
Yeah, totally. Well, to wrap this topic up, I wanted to ask, have you ever regretted apologising?
Wow, that's a good question.
Right? I want to know.
Yeah, I guess I've been giving an apologize. I man after a while and I'll be like, I shouldn't have given a fucking apologize. You know, like,
I take it back.
I take it back. Yeah, definitely. I think definitely, especially when you're in relationships, like you're in like rocky moments or something. Maybe out of like trying to make things better. Yeah. You apologize for things that actually you don't have to apologize.
I think that's a character thing though, because I think we've both done that. I think we're both like, okay, let's apologize to like smooth everything over. But then you're like, no, I don't know.
It's like, why?
Do you have an apology? Do you think you are owed an apology that hasn't come yet?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and that's really kind of like pissed me off because I think it's kind of like, I feel really like it's shit when someone owes you an apology, but you always being very apologetic about what you did, you know, and then but you never get it back from the same person. So if you did something wrong, you apologize, but therefore you don't get that from the person, you know.
But I do think, for example, like it's annoying, but I think it's also like that person knows for sure that they owe you an apology.
Yeah, for sure.
And also like you know that your conscience is clean at the end of the day.
That's true. That's something that
if you've done everything that you could do and you like gave a genuine apology, if you felt that it was genuine, not over apologize, and then it's like, then you've done all you can do. And I think that's what time gives you, you know? Honestly, because I think I know that feeling where you're like, I freaking deserve an apology. I want that apology, but the apology never comes. And I think it's like, well, that's your choice. We're all adults. We're all adults. We'll have our own agency, and that they're choosing.
I think it's always better to give extra apologies around your life. You know, it's better to have like a surplus of apologies. You know, you feel more like in peace with yourself. You know, if you have to apologize, it's better to just do it, even if you know maybe you won't get the. Now I understand it better. Like, even you know you won't get maybe what you need back, but if that will make you like feel more clean and clear and like at peace, as you say, like peace of mind, because you know I did my part and apologize. So
and it's easier to live with, oh, maybe I shouldn't have over apologized to that person than I don't think I can live with owing somebody an apology and not apologizing.
I know, it's hard.
Like I actually wrote to somebody like 10 years after. I hadn't seen them for 10 years. And I wrote to him and I said, like, I'm really sorry. You don't need to reply, but I think I was really bad to you. And he replied, and it was so cute because he was like, oh, don't worry, I was like an asshole as well. It's all, and I was like, like literally, I was like, my karma is, I'm fine.
Clear.
Literally. But it was so nice. And that is, it's better that because knowing that you owe an apology to somebody. Yeah. I don't think I owe an apology to anyone. Do I owe an apology to you at this point, Enzo?
I don't think so.
Are you sure? You can tell me. You're holding something. You'll tell me. You'll tell me. You're like, well.
Well, now we're open this. No, I don't think so, honestly. No. I think we don't have enough problems to own apology. We don't. You know? It would be like, sorry for eating your food, you know, something like that. It's
be like, I'm sorry I annoyed you by being too chatty. No, it's true. I think. It's true, yeah. But, well, interesting. That's my topic, basically.
Really interesting topic, yeah.
Thank you, love.
I wonder if people like listen to us, how they feel about apologizing. Because I do understand for maybe some it's really hard because it comes from other things, not for everyone, because it depends on your character and your upbringing. It can be really difficult. It can be really like painful. Some people feel pain to express some emotions,
remorse.
You know?
Yeah,
or
you're
remorse,
right.
Like
you're right.
any like love. For some people, that translates to pain for them. So maybe I'm sure some people, for them, it's hurtful to apologize for some different reasons. So that's interesting to hear.
Maybe you had a bad experience apologizing once, and then you were like, "Oh, allow this. Like, I won't do it again." Something like that.
Like, fuck you, man, they don't deserve it.
Yeah, but if you let us know your thoughts in the comments about apologizing, definitely. Do you find it difficult to apologize? Do you find it difficult to accept apologies as well? That's quite interesting, being on the receiving end of it. And please do, as always, tell us your thoughts on the topic.
Thank you very much for this topic, Claire. I
You're
really
welcome.
like it. It's a really, really like kick off of 2023. So,
see you next week,
thank you very much,
guys.
and see you next week, guys. Take care. Bye.